we're up to our. Well, we're recording now. Should have been recording though. Just kidding. All right, so public comments. Looks like we're giving public comments. Any public comments online or in?
They are here for uh, the first item on the conduit loan.
Okay.
They answer any questions the committee might have.
Okay. So public comments, I'm gonna make it one more time. Is there any public comments online or in the courthouse? Hearing no public comments online or in the courthouse, we're moving on to item 4, discussion action items. Up first, we have the approval of Finance and Economic Development Committee meeting minutes from our September 30th, 2025 meeting.
Brad will make a motion to approve.
Ronald second.
We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Approval passes. Next, we'll go to approval of the conduit loan for Tamarack Health. And these fellows are here to give us an update, or would you like to, Dan?
Either way, I can just basically tell you what it is. We've done this for Tamarack in the past. And in fact, if you don't, some of you might, all of you should remember a couple years ago, we had to update the conduit loan we did with them because of, was it the LIBOR change?
The LIBOR went away and they had
Yeah.
to move to a different rate. Yep.
Yep. So what this loan does is it enables Tamarack to get a lower interest rate on some, they're planning to do a $10 million building on their campus. This gives them a lower interest rate, and the county has zero risk involved in it. We're merely a conduit. All the work and all the debt and all the jeopardy stays with Tamarack.
Yeah, can you come up to a mic and then just make sure.
My name's Tucker Plumstead. I'm with National Healthcare Capital. And it was explained correctly. The bond will be placed with a sophisticated investor, a bank, who will understand that this is not the county's debt, that is strictly relying on the credit of the hospital to pay it. And I think your counsel will review the documents, and they've done it before, and they'll find that they're pretty standard. It's pretty much the same kind of documents we've done before.
So one of the benefits, I believe, is the tax exemption, right? Because the Ashland County bonds it goes as an exempt bond.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, and corporate counsel did review this. Tamarack will be reimbursing us for the legal expenses for the review. We just need to wait for Max and Katie to get us the last bill.
Do we need to approve this?
Yeah, if you could approve this and we'll take it up at the board on the 28th. But at least this way, it went through committee and questions can be asked now. And
Ron will make a motion to approve the conduit loan for Tamarack Health.
Got a motion?
Brad will second.
We got the trusty motion in second. All those in favor?
Well, I would like to ask
discussion?
a couple of questions though, yeah.
You want to have some discussion?
Do we see because we can only do this for $10 million at a time, is that right?
That's correct.
So do we see anything in the future that somebody's going to come and want a portion as this is getting paid off?
You can do 10 million in any given year.
Oh, in any given
So
year?
you have this $10 million space
Okay.
left this year. You have no other issuance this year.
Okay. So it's not, this doesn't exclude us if other development comes in and want to do the similar thing to stop doing that next year.
Next year.
Okay.
It's
'Cause
it's a $10 million limitation per year.
Okay, per year. I thought maybe it was $10 million and we're tying ourselves up to, because I think, was it a 20-year
Yeah.
plan to pay back? So that would tie us up for a portion of $10 million for 20 years. And I just wanted to clarify, but if it's 10 million a year, that solves that. And then again, it's a tax break for Tamarack. And then the county is getting the benefit of the new development, which will bring in new places. Hopefully that brings in new jobs, but we always talk about housing. So is there any progress on the TIF district
Yeah.
that we can give an update that would help some of the housing issues that
Sure.
this might create?
Sure. So first of all, yeah, the county does not gain an additional tax revenue because Tamarack is tax exempt property. But we do gain from increased health services from the
Correct.
building. And yes, we do gain from new employees potentially, or hopefully. As far as the housing goes, yes, the city signed the final documents for the housing project on over by the third and Beazer. So that was signed last week. They have already started marking off the property lines. They may do some earth moving yet this year, but the project is still a go. And in fact, I asked Julie Valancourt today about that. So hopefully this loan actually spurs like some more home building. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just didn't want to tie us to 20 years of
Yeah.
not being able to do it in the future, but thanks for the clarification on that.
Well, yeah, and I'll be honest, next year there may be a possibility where Tamarack comes back if the cost overruns go. Good.
Speak to that. Mike, but basically the project's about 15 million. We're putting 5 million, out of our reserves into the project. 10 million in total. And then I think I heard a comment about tax break. The tax break technically is not for us, it's for the bank. So then they offer us a lower rate because they make more money on the interest. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
The interest on the loan it's a tax exempt entity. So there's about a 1 in 125 basis points of tax exemption. So at a 5%, it would be really 6.25. But that tax exemption allows the banks to price lower. So that's really the benefit. And it gets, Tamarack does benefit from lower interest costs, but the complexity of the transaction and the swap that they're entering into, it's really, really just for them to use in steady cash flows through the amortization. So it's a fairly complex project, and Tucker's been a part of many of them.
Quite a few, not as
Yeah.
many as my partner, but
So yes, I'm going to abstain from this because of the partnership at the bank that I have. But, again, we're very, very lucky that Tamarack is an independent healthcare provider in our community and expanding. Many of the doctors are now coming over, so they're building. Anyway, so yes, it's a good project and a good partnership.
I would add that this hospital is really a great hospital. I mean, it's very large for a town this size. It's very active, very sophisticated. It's a project that we're always happy to represent.
All right, so we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And one abstaining? Motion passes.
Thank
You're
you.
good there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys will be first time.
Okay, going back to the agenda. So we're on to our favorite conversation, the 2026 budget.
So after the last meeting where we had what, a $450-some-thousand hole that we needed to fill. I did send everybody the cuts that we made. I can pull them up on my screen here too if you want to see them. So as you can see, the big one was there was a library number entered twice. So that took, almost half of it. The deficit went away with that. So for the purposes of the sheet, because I needed to add up to a certain number, everything was a negative, whether it was a cut or a revenue. So we did add a little bit of revenue because, we recently passed that abandoned property ordinance for the sheriff. So we believe that he'll get more money from Wisconsin surplus when he gets rid of all that stuff and going forward. We felt like some things were slightly over budget, like gas. You know, they had much more budgeted than this year and last year, and frankly, gas prices are probably not going anywhere. So we went through a lot of small expenses, and they all added up to the $459,000 that we needed. So while it's slightly more, there is, sorry. I believe, let's see. I'm sorry, Steve, do you remember which line it was you added the like $150 to?
So the difference there, because you came up with more cuts than were necessary.
Right.
I backed off the fund balance applied, which is currently on the screen. It's the third column over at 741,915. So that number would have decreased. We didn't apply as many surplus funds to balance the budget.
Let's here.
Do you see that?
That's the 20, yeah.
So when Dan sent me the cuts, what I did is I reflected them in the summary, and I tried to keep you at your max levy amount. Just because if you don't use it, it could carry forward, but then special rules apply to it. And you as a county have the authority to do that. There is one other item on your levy limit worksheet, which is a section 3 adjustment for prior year. I think 21 and 22, you had some unused capacity. The county could invoke that if they chose to. There's two things that apply to that. Yeah, thanks, Dan. It's right down in the section C section here. There's 48,559 that is available. It probably hasn't come up before now, because next year your 2020 line, which is a 0 on there, would fall off. You'd still have the ability to take it next year if you didn't do it this year. And because we balanced out, it didn't get, we didn't really need to use it, but you could if you wanted to. There's two things that have to happen for that to be able to be taken. Per the statute that governs that, which you can see is 660602 sub 3 FM. It requires a 2/3 approval by the county board, and the county has to be at the same level of debt outstanding or lower than the prior year. In my calculation, I believe you meet the second criteria, which is you would be at or lower than your outstanding debt from 12/31/2024. So you could do it if you wanted to. And if you did that, my recommendation would be to cut back on your fund balance applied even more. So that 741 you would subtract the 48,559 from that, and it would put you at, less than 700,000 of fund balance applied. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah. So, so before you make that decision, there is a late request from Land Conservation for some GIS equipment, which Chairman Kinney said we could take up at this meeting under the budget. So there's a request here for $34,000. This is for some GIS equipment that Land Conservation uses when they're working out in the field. So our options for paying for that are to use that unused levy, to use contingency, or to put it onto the debt levy, if the committee even wants to consider it. So that's part of this whole thing.
And can I ask a question, Dan, on that?
Yeah, yeah.
So the land records funds couldn't be used for that, or they're all taken up?
Land Conservation.
Oh,
Yeah,
land conservation.
Yeah, she doesn't have the money or any more
Oh.
money.
Okay.
Yeah.
'Cause it looks like it's like survey type equipment or something, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Can I say just a couple things about that?
Like,
We would let you do that. Yeah, that would be appreciated.
Okay, Dan, did you happen to also send them the text, the email that I sent you about this, like just with the background on it?
no, I did not.
Okay, so just a little bit of background is this equipment is for us to survey all of our field projects every year. So we're due to upgrade our survey equipment. We use our survey equipment on from 5 to 9 different landowner sites annually and sometimes more. And the equipment that we currently have is from 2005 and it's no longer functional. So the charge cord that we use to charge the equipment for our data collector no longer charges the equipment, and it's no longer being made. So we did find a used charger on eBay, and we're hoping that that will help us limp by for the rest of the year and through the winter to do our surveys for 2026. The battery in the machine has also gone bad. So we have purchased a new battery. We haven't received it yet, but we're hoping that the combination of these two things will help us to get by for a little bit longer, but it's not a long-term fix. So there are 2 different quotes here. And we got quotes from a reputable representative that sells the Trimble surveying equipment. One of the quotes is for $34,000, and that would allow us to have one person work in the field to set up the equipment and be able to survey all of the farm sites, the ravine stream sites that we work on. And it would allow them to work efficiently without having to reset up the tripod and start new data survey points. The other quote that we got is for $23,000. It has similar capabilities, but it is a slight downgrade when surveying under canopy cover or when the trees still have vegetation. And it would also not be useful in the difficult ravine types of situations that we're now predominantly working on to help stop some of our flooding issues in the county. So that second equipment could get us by, but it would require more staff out in the field to help with some of the difficult to reach locations versus the first surveying equipment that's more expensive would be more efficient and it would allow one person to use that versus multiple staff people being out in the field. And once again, the equipment we currently have has lasted us over 20 years. And the longevity of this equipment would likely be the same time frame, if not longer. So that's a little bit of background.
So, Pat, do you want me to ask that question? All right, so earlier today, Chairman Kinney asked if other departments have survey equipment or similar equipment. I know highway does for sure, and I believe forestry does. So the question was framed on, can land conservation just borrow it? And my response was, this is sort of the same argument we had about having vehicles maintained at, sheriff's vehicles maintained at highway. How the time it takes for employees to drive down there and drive back, we waste so much time that it's not really worth doing it. So we're better off purchasing in the long run, and then wasting time is.
And also, I'm not sure what type of equipment they have. This new GPS survey equipment is much more recent technology, and I'm not sure what type of equipment the highway department or forestry has.
So anyhow, like I said, it just wastes too much time to share. So I don't know if you guys want to consider this again. there are three ways to pay for it. There's that carryover levy dollars. There's debt levy. And then there's contingency. If you decide you want to do contingency, there's no reason why she couldn't buy the equipment right away. The other two would have to wait until next year. And I do point, we have about $900 and some thousand in contingency. So I'll go back to the rest, the budget summary. So I guess, do you guys have questions on the budget itself then? Here's the one with the cuts. Okay.
So just one question for the financial advisors. So you were talking about a number of around 700,000.
Yeah.
And it sounded like the 700,000 was the amount that we need to figure out how are we short the 700 this year? Is that what I'm understanding?
No, so if you look on the screen, what Dan has up there right now, I can't show you the number because I can't touch the screen. I can only see it. But if you see the 2026 budget's on the left-hand side and the 25 is on the right-hand side, and then the names of the departments are down the center, right? If you look down about a third of the way, there's a total for the general fund. And so if you look at the column titled Fund Balance Applied or Excess Revenue, you'll see there's 741,915 in 2026. Similarly, in 2025, it was almost the same number, 742,606. This was deemed to be two things. In my experience with people doing budgets, the vast majority of people often budget revenues at a level that is attainable, and expenditures are budgeted at the max amount. So in our budgets, we have, for instance, every county position to be filled for 100% of the year. That generally does not occur because positions vacate, they sit for a while before they get filled. There's surplus that's generated from having those vacancies. People tend to budget for the maximum amount of expenses. So for, like Dan had said, fuel, things like that. Typically, they don't always hit those. In my experience preparing budgets, depending on the level of the budget, I think 350 to 450,000 is probably kind of like your shock absorber in your budget, things that probably you're going to return a surplus to your general fund. So part of the 700,000 is an allowance for a vacancy rate in some positions that they would remain open, and some application of general fund to your budget. But in looking at last year and this year, it was not taken to be a more aggressive approach. If anything, we backed off on it slightly. And I think, in essence, I think you're still going to probably have a surplus. Do you see where those numbers are, Blake, on there?
I get it now. I wanted to ask the question, and I think just conceptually, when you said the first part about we expect that this is 100% of expenses and we're only guessing that revenues are going to be this, so it's not like fully. I think it's helpful after having such a not discouraging, but leaving the last meeting discouraged, and then you guys kind of shaking the magic tree of county finance budget stuff and then making me feel better today. So
Okay.
I appreciate the work you guys do behind the scenes. And
Well, and believe me, Dan and Sue did most of the lifting on this one. I mean, we're just a sounding board here. They're doing most of the work. So, but yeah, thank you for the compliment.
I'm just glad that we got the right one up there because I was confused because the one you were showing had 1.2 million and he was saying 741 and I'm like, where's it? Where am I looking? So, but I got it now and we got the right sheet up there. So with the most recent one, the 1010 document. So the one that's in the packet.
Yeah, and so, certainly if there are other questions about the budget itself, happy to respond to anything there. This does include in your debt levy, your debt service levy, there you see 2,399,810 as your levy amount. That does include the items that were included in your capital improvement plan for 2026 purchase items. So that would be a loan that you would issue in November with the bank. You don't have to take it right away, but you would, apply for the loan or have the resolution to issue the loan. And then you would fund your capital, accept the funds, and then the note should be 366 days in length with no prepayment. And then I think you typically pay that off in like March-ish after your first tax settlement in February comes in. And again, it's up a little bit on the debt service levy there, 175,000. I don't have the complete list right in, I don't know if it's on the screen here if anybody has any questions on that, but nothing's changed there. Trying to think.
Steve, you want to point out how we're not actually borrowing to 2.4 million, that how the borrowing is going to be actually less.
Yeah, so if you look at the capital fund there, the 1,978,475, you're actually borrowing the money. It's going to get put into that capital fund in December of this year, and then it gets paid off next year, but it gets paid off out of your debt service fund. So that's where the loan gets paid off. The loan funds your capital items, so that money gets placed as a source of funds in your capital fund that departments will use to pay for all the items on the list. And then the county pays that loan off via the levy that's generated in your debt service fund. Should this budget pass, which would be 2,399,810, takes care of paying all of that off, plus existing debt. I think you have three to five loans outstanding. Two of them are highway, they pay off. And then there's a couple others that the county has, one for the snowmobile club, I think, and they make payments on that. That's the revenue there. The 33,736 is the payments from the club to make the debt service payments on that loan. So.
And we're also not borrowing for things like leases on the cars, on the sheriff's department vehicles. But that's not going to be part of the actual loan, but it's part of debt service.
Correct. Yes.
And property and liability insurance is part of debt service, but not part of the loan.
Yeah. So the leases that you issue for like the enterprise leases, I believe the sheriff's department and maybe forestry has a vehicle. Those are considered debt instruments that Department of Revenue says can be repaid with debt service money that is not restricted to the GO operating rate levy, which is what gets calculated on that county tax levy worksheet that you have a copy of too. So they're exempt from that as long as they're, passed by I forget if it's 2/3 or 3/4 vote of the board. You put the language in there that says the county's pledging the irrepealable tax levy and it's a general obligation of the county, which you guys do. So.
So we need to decide to pass this and on Mary Jo's Trimble unit. But I'm hearing if we use that extra 48,000 for Mary Jo's, that we would need 2/3 of the county board to approve doing that. I see a value of having that, and I understand the idea of shared equipment is tough, and it's with timing and all that. So I'll make a motion that we use contingency funds to approve the purchase of the 34,000, sorry, I don't remember the exact number of it. Oh, that's the wrong one. Which one is it? $34,153.45 for the land conservation Trimble unit.
Ron will second that.
So just a point of clarification, are we gonna add the 34,000 into the budget and take from contingency to offset it? Or, and have her buy it next year, or do you want her to use contingency and buy it this year?
You're saying that there's 900,000 in contingency right now, right?
Right.
So I say right now.
Okay,
So if you want me to create that, is go ahead and get it right now.
yeah, and so it
With
wouldn't actually be part
contingency.
of the budget, it'd be just using contingency to buy it right now.
Yep.
Okay. Does everybody understand? Okay.
We got a motion and a second
Mhm.
to approve the purchase of the 34,153 using contingency right now.
Mhm.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes to purchase the 34,153 using contingency. And then now we have to approve we have to go back to the budget as a whole.
So Brad will make a motion to approve the budget as the 1010.
As on the, presented on this, in the packet.
In the packet, the one that's in the packet. The one that's in the packet.
Ron will second that.
Well, we've got the trustee motion. Second, is there any discussion?
So can I just maybe add something if nobody else does?
Yes,
Right.
go ahead. Steve, go ahead. You go
So
first.
just with regards to that section C adjustment for prior year unused levy, the county will have the ability to take that next year. The same terms and conditions apply to it. It takes a 2/3 vote. And you have to be at or below the debt level that you're at this year, which I don't think is going to be an issue. I don't think you guys really plan on borrowing a bunch of money between now and next year. So I think you're going to fit that criteria. And then it's just up to whether or not you want to invoke that and put that in your levy, which I mean, I think I would recommend doing next year. Certainly you don't have many kicks at getting the ability to do that. I do know that it does require a supermajority 2/3. So, that'll be up to the board to decide if they want to do that. So.
So basically, next year, because there's zero falling off this year with the 2020 number, we can just scrape that 48 next year with the approval of the board. So we're not in a time crunch to do it. It won't matter.
Correct. Yeah, because the year 2020 was not a year that you had unused levy. That'll fall off next year. If you don't do it next year, then your 2021 will fall off and you would lose some of it. Does that make
And
sense?
in your mind, it sounds like there'd be no reason to let
I can ask.
us lose that money. That's free money, not free money, but we need to go and bring that money into the levy.
Yeah, so I mean, just to, if you look at the upper part of the form, you were allowed to increase your tax levy. Let me just do the math here. I don't want to guess. Because you only get to go up based upon net new construction and if a terminated TID occurs. So you were able to increase your levy.
It was 1.18%.
Yeah, and in dollars,
That's like 60,000.
let's see. It was roughly 80. It went 6966805
I'll ask the question.
7046923. But when you look at a county budget, health insurance costs going up, wages, your shopping basket full of goods that you purchase, all your departments purchase certainly go up more than that in a year, It's only because for you guys, shared revenue went up a little bit. The courts got a little bit more funding. Land and water got, more funding for some positions. Through things like that you're able to fit everything in the box at the end and comply with levy limits. So I certainly think it would be something you'd want to seriously consider. I mean, I'm not telling you you have to, but I think you'd want to seriously consider it next year.
Steve, can we do it prior to when approving the budget? Could we say we're going to do this in May next year so that it's already approved that we're going to do it in May?
I think you could. I would want to check with Department of Revenue on that because in the statutes, it says, that you just have to be at or below your debt service level from the year before. So strategy wise, if you passed it in May and then you did a loan in August, could you get around that? I don't know. DOR may say you have to do it right at your budget so they know most of the year is done. But we could check on that and certainly let you know.
We've talked about that there's not going to be any new source of revenue. We're at 1.18 this year, which is actually higher than it's been the last few years.
That's because of the TID in the city
Yeah.
ending.
And so next year seems like a perfect time to do this, but to do it early enough, and with the caveat that, hey, we might have to pull it back, but to do it early enough that we just go ahead and throw it in the budget and plan on it being in there when we come this time, because I just would hate for, especially with a 2/3 majority vote coming up and somebody has some pet project that they want in, it's right at $50,000 and they're begging for that $50,000. And that's the only way they'll vote to do it is to go that pet project. And I say, if we get it passed early, if we can do that and still meet the criteria later, I think it just sets us up that, hey, we're planning for it. And it's not right at the end when we're approving the budget right before the actual meeting.
So based upon what I'm hearing, we will check with Department of Revenue to see if that's an option for you. And then you guys can decide if it's May, April, June, whatever, to do it, if they allow that.
Even September is fine. Just
that's
earlier than when we're approving just the actual budget that we're going to do it.
So Pat asked, so this is contingent on us being at or below debt service level for the next year. So the question is, can we even do it if debt service is going to be higher next year? Which
it's not your debt service, it's your overall outstanding debt.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not your debt service, it's your GO debt level. So it's your outstanding debt.
Which we really don't have much of, so.
No, because when you do your capital, you're paying it off right away in February or March of the next year. So that goes away. And then you really have like three or four loans sitting there that those are going down every year because you're making principal and interest payments on them. So, unless you increased your capital like by $500,000 next year and you were like 2.4 million instead of 1.9, I don't think you're going to have a problem complying with that condition.
And then the second question he had is, if we take the money from 21 and 22, is that a permanent increase in the base level?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, that argues for taking it because then it's a permanent increase.
Correct.
Then you can take it next year.
Yeah. I don't, Pat just wanted to ask questions, so make sure everybody understood.
Yep. No, Dan, that question is yes, it does add to your levy. And it is there then, and it's available every time a TID closes or your net new construction. Your base is bigger, so that number is bigger than because you're getting a percentage of a bigger number. Does that make sense?
Yeah, then should we maybe take it this year?
Well, if the number does go up, so if you look at last year's, it was like 47,000 something. So it's kind of staying there with you because you get the increase on it. But once it goes away, so like this year, 2020 will fall off when we look at the form next year. If you don't take it next year, then you're going to lose one of your years that 2021 will fall off, and then if you don't do it the next year, you're going to be zero. So strategy wise, I would take it for sure next year. You could take it this year if you wanted to, though, also.
I think it's the best is to take it next year because we don't know. Pat disagrees with me, says
Well,
right now.
So I have Pat's comments right
Okay.
here. So Pat says taking it now ensures we can take it and increase the base for next year. So Pat believes we should take it this year.
Where
So
would
then,
it?
so yeah, go ahead with your question because I think I know what you're going to ask, but
Well,
so,
but
so
it's potential that it's bigger next year
Mhm.
because it's already going to include the it would include the net new construction increase anyway, so that percentage would get possibly be bigger than 48 that we take. And if we are worried that we're not, well, I guess it's still going to be there, right?
yeah, you'd still get the increase on your form. Dan, do you have that form you can put up on the screen just so I can kind of
Yeah,
talk them through it?
I'm looking at the form, so
Yeah, so Dan, go up to the top part, section A. So the way this happens is they step through and they subtract out your debt exemption from the year before, the 2,224,000, gets you to your base levy. That 48,559 would be added to that base levy, and you'd get the increase, like net new construction there. It would happen there versus on the bottom of the form.
so then
So you're not,
actually the 1.15 that we have this year that we think is larger than it will likely be next year, we'll get a bigger increase on it anyway this year.
well, you're not, so that's already factored into the 48. You're not going to get more.
Okay.
Yeah, the 48 is the 48.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's already been adjusted for that. It would flow through next year's though, and whatever net new construction or if there were terminated TIDs, that would happen next year. So it'd be part of your base. So, and if you did elect to do that, to take the 48, I would just suggest, backing off on your fund balance applied, and then your balance budgets, it'll balance, so the 741,915, you'd subtract. So 741,915 minus out the 48,559, you'd apply 693,356, and your budget balances at the new higher levy amount, which would include you taking that exemption. So, and what you could do, what I would recommend you doing is presenting that budget to the board. And if you get the 2/3 vote, you're good. If it doesn't pass with a 2/3 vote, then you'd have to fall back to this budget that's before you here today. Does that make sense?
It does. And so I would like to, is it best to offer amendment or amend my original motion?
You
And
would have
have-
to amend your motion.
So I like to amend my motion to take, well,
A section C adjustment for
Yeah.
prior unused levy carry forward.
yep, the section C adjustment for prior unused levy carryover of 48,559 and put it in, hoping to look up at that.
Yeah,
Go
I'm
back.
getting back to it
Put it in the
right here,
scroll up just a little bit.
right where my cursor is.
Yeah, but can you scroll up so I can see what the column's called. The fund balance applied to knock that fund balance applied value down
Minus the 48.
minus the 48,559.
Yep.
And present that budget to the county board on October 28th, if my second agrees with it.
Second agrees.
Before you guys vote, I just want to have one clarifying question. Steve, do you know if it's 2/3 of the body or 2/3 presence?
Let me pull up the statute here and just look. And again, I'm an accountant. I'm not an attorney, but
Right, because that makes a big difference on
Yeah, it says may occur only if the political subdivision's governing body approves of the adjustment by a 2/3 majority vote of the governing body.
So we need what, 17 votes?
So 17 members.
21 times 0.66. So we need 14 people to vote for it.
Oh, there's 21. Yeah.
Yeah. Just so everybody's aware, 14 supervisors have to vote for the budget.
Yep.
Yeah, but I know we're short too, but it's still the governing body's 21 people. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
And you know, you could ask your court counsel to review that statute. I sent it to you in an email too, Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to make sure that that's accurate and not 2/3 of the members present.
Yeah, but they vote for it, so yeah, you need 14 votes of who's for it, no matter what. So,
So we have a motion, we have a second, we've had some discussion. Is there any additional discussion? So I would try to recite that, but it was such a long motion that I'm gonna go ahead and say Bradley Ray's motion to fix the levy stuff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? None. Motion passes for the budget. Exciting.
thank you.
So
Okay.
here's my recommendation, if you'll allow me the liberty here. October 28th is when you're passing your budget, correct? I know DOR, and they're gonna want to see the minutes that show you actually approved and voted on that to increase that carry forward amount. So I would list that as a separate item before you adopt your budget and say, you know, to take a section C adjustment for prior years unused levy carry forward. I mean, I can work with you on the language. Have everybody vote on that, and if you get 14 votes for it, then I'd go with the budget that you just approved. And if you don't get 14, then I'd present this budget that was here today.
Okay,
that
so
make
I'll publish both budgets, both versions of the budgets.
Well, you don't have to publish the one that gets adopted. You just have to publish a version of the budget as it existed the day you published it. So you don't have to make it agree.
Okay, well, I'll have copies made for everybody, just in case.
Yeah.
I think the important thing of this whole thing, Steve, is that there's really little downside.
Yeah.
There's not much downside and there's only upside. So for
I
us to
agree.
wait really wouldn't make much sense based on what my mute friend back here said. So we're good. We can move on from that discussion, I hope. Okay.
Sounds great.
thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Number 5, reports and updates. We've got the treasurer report, county investments. Nothing really changed.
No, nothing's changed. Just bear in mind, interest rates might change,
They've been going cutting, but they haven't been cut on ours yet, so
but they will
will
expect it
be.
to come.
they will.
I expect another Fed cut, interest rate cut, which will cut our interest again. So, but we're still making a lot of money in interest. Was it, Sue? Just on the LACTF account, we got what, 22,000, you said?
No, that was on the one CD.
One
that
CD?
That's a quarterly amount.
Yeah, so 22,000 a month, every 3 months. So,
Yeah. I know. So that's good. Looks like administrator updates.
all right, I got some things here. They're gonna be future finance committee items, maybe. Maybe not. The first one is gonna be go onto the board in 2 weeks or a week and a half. Dealing with the Maxwell properties. So we had a meeting with Landmark Conservancy yesterday. They are definitely buying those properties on the White River. We're applying. We're helping them apply for a different grant. Also, that will cover the rest of the entire purchase. Part of that grant says that a government organization has to end up owning the properties. So when Landmark purchases the property, they're immediately going to transfer both the Ashland County and Bayfield County portion to Ashland County. We're going to hold on to that property for a year or two, three, however long it takes the DNR to get their act together. And then we will transfer those properties to the DNR. So there'll be no county expense involved. We'll just be owning the property and helping out with the grant work. So Bayfield County's agreeing to let us own their piece of property because it just makes more sense to have one owner. So that's how that's going. There might need to be a second appraisal done on that. Before, because the DNR is going to want their own appraisal from their own approved appraiser. So that may not make North College very happy because it may come in a lot lower. But at least this property will be opened up to the public at some point you'll be able to access the river from it. You'll be able to hunt in there, fish in there. Well, the Ashland County portion, the Bayfield County portion still has an easement on it that prevents that. But and we could theoretically harvest timber from it. So,
Just one question.
yeah,
So Ashland County is going to own property in Bayfield County?
yes, for a short period.
And it won't be taxable, obviously.
No, it won't be taxable. No.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just we own like 90 acres. There's 90 acres in Ashland County and 40 in Bayfield County. So it just sort of made sense to lump the pieces together, and it's all going to the same spot anyhow. So
The purchase price been worked out?
the first appraisal came in at like 450 grand, which surprised me. I didn't think it'd be worth anywhere near that. I was thinking more like 150, but anyhow, that's, like I said, the DR may want a different appraisal, which would lower the purchase price.
Bet on 130 acres. That's probably about right now.
Maybe. It's not really buildable though.
Yeah,
No.
it might be about right.
Okay. Yeah. So, the next one is the Chequamegon Humane Association. As you all know, they are our animal control organization. Also, Bayfield County is in the city of Ashland's organization. And we did bring this up at a previous meeting. All three governments are kicking in $50,000 for them to build a bigger space to actually house our animals. And then Erica's working with them to get a grant to cover the rest. So there is a state grant out there that we would qualify for that. The state would require having a 20-year lien on the property, but that shouldn't be an issue. So theoretically, the state's going to cover 51% of the cost if we get approved for the loan. And that dovetails into the next one. We're also using that same grant to apply for a new Ice Angel. The current Ice Angel is over 20 years old. Dave Obey got it for us in a earmark, and Dave Obey's been out of office for a very long time. That boat is in huge need of replacement. We did try to get an earmark for it. It did not move past subcommittee. And of course, I don't think there's going to be any earmarks anyhow. I don't think the government's going to open until at least next month sometime. So we are applying for this, using the same grant to apply for that. That is an investment that Ashland County and Bayfield County are both responsible for. The city's law enforcement and their responsibilities end at the shoreline. The counties are responsible for anything that happens on the water. So Ashland County and Bayfield County will have to next year, talking about our debt levy next year already. We're looking at around 150,000 each county, plus the grant. The boat itself is 450 to 500 grand. So that's what I'm saying, 125, 150 for each county. The city of Ashland does contribute, and the fact that they actually are the ones who operate the boat and conduct the rescues. So they are contributing in that respect. I mean, we don't have the expertise to do that, nor does Bayfield County. Mr.
Blake,
Chairman?
I would like us to not say Ice Angel again,
Okay,
because that's what killed that 20 years ago.
okay, wind sled.
You have Winslet, because Congress saw Ice Angel, thought we were building an Ice Angel.
Right.
God's honest truth. That's why we failed the first time. And then finally it went through when they explained to Congress, because they weren't smart enough to look at the brochure,
Yeah.
that it's a wind sled. So
Right, and that's how we presented it to Congress, as a wind sled for ice rescues. It's, but the boat in town is called Ice Angel. That's why I use that term, because everybody knows what it is. Either way, that thing is going to have to be replaced. And so we're looking at this grant so that we only have to pay half of the cost. But that would go on next year's debt levy. So you can already plan on 125 to 150 next year. So
Does the city of Washburn have any usage or expectations here? Or is it because like the city of Ashland, they're up to the shore, then it goes to the county?
no, it's just the city of Ashland has the fire department that's trained in doing it. So the city will take care of all rescues up to the islands, and then Madeline Island or La Pointe takes care of the rescues on all the islands. So if there's someplace close to La Pointe, whoever can get there first is going to do it. I will say La Pointe did apply for a earmark to get a new wind sled also, and they were turned down. So that might be something that we're going to end up having to look at in a year or two and helping with that project too. Yeah. Well, like I said, the sheriff's department has legal authority on the water. So the fact that La Pointe has one is great. It helps us. But at the end, they may ask us to help pay for a new one. I'm warning you guys. So, and maybe it makes sense to do it next year if we can get two of them cheaper than one. Yeah. But so, like I said, it's something to look for next year. Well, at least it's going to,
It's not bad.
yeah, and I'm going to withhold my comment.
Okay, so we're through the administrator updates. We have to schedule our next, and I guess now that we've gotten through the budget season, do we do these monthly still through the year? Or do we give ourselves? Do you want to meet in November, or do you want to wait until?
Okay. Subject to call of the chair.
My chair?
But Pat's saying subject to the call of the chair.
Oh, well, I don't think we're gonna have anything material unless
Something might come up.
if something comes up, but then we could do a meeting. So I would recommend just maybe doing a meeting in December with the understanding that if we had to meet earlier, we could. We can schedule a meeting and cancel it too. It's up to you. Whatever you think. Last year, we didn't need one after the budget passed. December's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So as long as we get okay through the budget, we should be fine for our December. So if we look out into December,
And that can always be canceled if there's nothing going on.
so it would be the week of the 15th if we kept it in line with the third week. And it would be 18th. So it'd be December 18th, which is cutting it a little close to the holidays, but it's fine for me.
Yeah, I'm going to be in town. Pat, are you going to be in town? Ron?
I know that as the winter as the winter hours come and certain folks like to not be driving at night, we can always move the meeting up. I know 2 o'clock was appreciated for certain people.
Well, yeah,
It's not even looking.
he's looking at his iPad. If we could even do it earlier, that way Chairman Murchik can drive home in the daylight yet.
Like 10 a.m.?
If I'm here that day, I will be available all day long if I am here in
Okay.
town. So I
I don't
anything.
mind mornings. As long as it's after 9, I could do it 10 a.m. So would that work for you guys, 10 a.m. on? 10 a.m. it is. So I haven't heard Pat say much because he can't. So that's,
Okay. Lori, can you schedule that one tomorrow? Thank you.
all right. So we're good. Last point of order is the most important one. Ron makes a motion.
Second.
I know Brad's gonna second, so we've got a motion, a second. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, meeting's adjourned. Thank
Okay.
you.
Oh, that's about the, yeah.